PLC Network here with another unboxing, this time coming from the company Phenyx Pro. And this is the Phenyx Pro PTU-2U. And specifically the PTU-2U 1H1B. There we go. A lot of stuff to remember. 1H1B is just like a submodel name to the model name because it just dictates that this version of it is one handheld and one lavalier, where you also have a two lavalier system as well, or maybe a two handheld or both. This one is a combo between one and the other. That way we get to test everything out. And this is a true diversity dual wireless microphone system, which makes it close to brands like Shure and Sennheiser if you're a professional or prosumer out there that have used some of these other brands. And I'm seeing in my preview monitor a note from our team saying, "Oh, James, please explain." Thanks. But thankfully, I do have a background in audio engineering, so this should be a little bit easy if I could just figure out how to, let's see, how do you explain that so everybody understands? Okay. Picture it as you're in a room, like racquetball or something. You're in a room and you're throwing a ball to somebody else who's trying to catch that ball. But when you go to throw that ball, you throw it wildly and it bounces off a wall and then bounces off another wall, or bounces off another wall, and eventually comes at the receiving party, and they reach for it and try to catch it. They only have one hand. That is a non-true diverse setup. Now, imagine if they had two hands, and that ball's coming at them. They have twice the chance of catching that signal. So that is pretty much what true diversity means, is you actually have two antennas on, working separately to try to catch that signal, so that if one fails to see it, the other one's gonna see it, or there's a great chance that the other one's gonna see it, and it's gonna significantly reduce the chance of dropouts. And by doing that, you don't experience dropouts, hopefully. That's at least, that's the idea of it all. Of course, if you're in a heavy RF environment and you have tons of interference coming at you from other RF traffic or just simply interference from the room itself, then there are still chances that you might still experience dropouts, but this significantly reduces it versus having a receiver that has one antenna. So that's what true diversification means, and it helps to make sure that you have a greater chance of not experiencing dropouts during the use of a wireless microphone system. True diversification. Now, if you're professional and you've worked the industry with Shure and Sennheiser, then you can see that in many of their packs. So we'll take Shure, or many other kits. We'll take Shure, for example. Shure has, your meter that shows your signal. And then next to it, you usually will have, your input. And above the signal, though, you'll see two dots. Sometimes they bounce back and forth. And that's the true diversification or true diversity working within the circuit design of that receiver, as it's trying to make sure it never loses that antenna due to any interference in the room and or other RF nearby. Or if you are more of a beginner and don't have the slightest idea of what I'm talking about, think of it more like maybe like a mesh network. With a mesh network, you have multiple access points spread about. So that way, if you just lose the sight of one, but you're within another one, it'll bounce to the other one to make sure that you never lose connectivity to your phone or whatever else is connected to your network. So as you bounce around, it tries to bounce between the access points or antennas to make sure that you never fall out from connectivity. So that's pretty much similar to how true diversity works within the circuit design of receivers. It's kind of like having two access points, but they're in the same unit, just spread out just enough to be able to say, hey, if you don't got it, I got it. So that's true diversity. And with that, you have a dual channel wireless true diversity system here, because you have a lav and a handheld and or whatever configuration you buy this in, but you can use them both at the same time because you have two receivers here and those antennas are working for both of them. So diving into some of the features, you have a typical frequency range on this. This one specifically is 530 megahertz to 580. You have within that 1,000 turnable frequencies for each receiver. So you can determine what frequency you want to use on one and have completely separate control of the other one, of course, because you can't have them both on the same frequency, but each one has the full 1,000 frequency range to scan through. And you're basically moving in increments of 0.025 megahertz to be able to get that. It has up to 328 feet of range, which is, I want to say exciting, but also kind of expected. If you're going to compete in the prosumer or professional world, you got to have that strong line of sight that allows you to make use of these in more heftier environments, we'll say, like a large general session. So just consider that you have bird's line of sight. You can see the receiver, or at least you can sit at the receiver and see the transmitter, whoever's holding it or whoever's laved up. And there's nothing in between, no walls, no windows, or anything else that can cause interference. Of course, then that also is considered to be within a perfect environment. So to get 328 feet, you'd have to probably be outside in a giant meadow with no trees or anything else, and just perfect line of sight and nothing else to cause any interference, such as any radio frequencies or anything else nearby, radio towers, TV towers, etc. So up to 328 feet is, of course, dependent upon all of those variables, but with a range such as that, you should get plenty of range with this. You also have some of your typical features like squelch adjustment, which is an SQL setting within the receiver there that you can adjust, as well as, of course, IR sync. You got to have IR sync in anything that's prosumer and up if you really want to be, taken seriously. And or if you want to take your own gear seriously, you have to have IR sync, because nobody wants to sit there and set the frequency separately on the handheld or lav and then also set it separately manually on the receiver. Just set it on the receiver, set all of your frequencies, and then sync them up. And then off you go. And then you also have a settings lock as well. So if you are using this in an atmosphere and you do not want people to be pressing buttons and accidentally changing settings, you should be able to lock all of your settings to make sure that nobody can adjust your settings once you've dialed everything in. So the handheld is just a handheld. There's nothing to attach to it. Then you have the body pack, which does have an attachment. Obviously, you have your lavalier microphone that plugs into it, which uses a mini XLR connection, which is similar to like Shure and many other companies out there, really. And that is also known as a TA connector or TA3 because it's a 3-pin mini XLR connection. So if you have other lavaliers you want to be able to toss back and forth and test against this, like let's say you have some Shures kicking around and you want to know what does a Shure mic, lavalier mic sound like in a Phenyx Pro pack, you should be able to make that happen. And then you have battery life. Battery life is up to 8 hours, which is pretty good and kind of expected as well. For the longest time, a lot of wireless microphones suffered with that 1 to 3 hour kind of limitation, and a lot of modern technology, or at least thanks to modern technology, a lot of your modern RF devices out there can achieve much better battery life. And finally, you have MSRP. Now that's where this gets really interesting. Now, if you're thinking Shure, you're thinking Sennheiser, you're thinking True Diversity, you're thinking dual wireless units, and a lot of great features, you're typically thinking, okay, a dual unit, that's probably gonna cost like probably, we'll say $1,200 and up, especially when you consider that it includes the body pack, the microphone, and the handheld, as well as some other accessories, which we'll go over in just a moment once we open this up. So really, if you consider all those accessories, if you were to buy something from Shure, Sennheiser, or AKG, or et cetera, you're probably looking well over $1,200 for that unit. So the price for this was very suspenseful. I'm dragging it out. $334.99 or $335. That's pretty good. For a dual unit like this, as long as it works, as long as it sounds good, and as long as you can use it in a live environment that's a roughly larger room, that's a pretty good deal. Even if you're just using it for weddings or birthday parties and things like that, as long as you get range and features and sound quality and it's robust and it doesn't feel like it's gonna fall apart and you're getting good battery life, $335 is a pretty good price. And so that's something to be excited about. But after all of this talking, I think it's time to open a box, take a look at what it looks like inside and see what it comes with. And then we're gonna give it a test to see what it sounds like. But we'll go ahead and open it up. And the first thing you come across is some instructions. You got the Phenyx Pro PTU-1U/2U series, which just means, same instructions for both. And it's just going to give you some information on there that includes of functions of parts of receiver transmitters, single system, multiple system setup, IR synchronization, squelch level function, auto scan function, and lock function. I don't know if I mentioned that. You can hit auto scan so that you can automatically let it scan for the closest frequency that seems like it's not taking a hit from anything. So a nice quiet frequency that you can use to help avoid kind of manually trying to set it and trying to figure that out on yourself if you don't have some kind of an antenna system to be able to scan the air around you and determine what's taken and what's not. But it gives you information about the inputs, outputs, functions, what you have on the screen. It's pretty all-inclusive for the most part, while keeping everything simple. You're not going to spend a whole day reading this. It's pretty straightforward. Especially if you've had experience working with wireless microphones in the past, then you're definitely okay. Then you have the receiver, and honestly, it looks quite similar to a lot of the receivers out there, just a tad. You don't find, or you won't find some, again, all of the features that you get with Shure and Sennheiser and some of these other companies. Like if you look at the back, you don't see a mic line level switch on the back, as well as some of your other options. It's pretty simple. You have your antennas. You have 2 separate XLR balanced outputs on the back, which is more than common, as well as a mixed channel 1/4-inch connection here, which sends both A and B, or mic 1 and 2, out the same connection as a stereo output. And that's it. Outside of power, at least, that's all you have back here. And then on the front, you have your basic SEP. You have your set button. You have up and down arrows here. You have your IR sensor here for syncing to a pack. So you would have to make sure you have the right channel selected, what you're trying to sync to, whichever specific device you want to sync to. Make sure that you have that device, you have A or B selected, and then set it to sync, and then hold the 2 IR sensors together, or at least in front of each other, usually about 6 inches apart, and you'll be able to sync those frequencies to each other. And then, of course, you have your volume A and volume B that you can set from here using a rotary dial here, and power connection across the front. And looking further into the box, underneath the receiver, you see all of your accessories. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Now, the company, of course, we're a big stickler when it comes to batteries. We always expect companies, especially when you're spending a lot of money, please include batteries. Phenyx Pro does that. So you have 2 sets of AA batteries. You have some options here. We have some rubberized feet, which just go onto the bottom of the unit. And you have an anti-roll ring for the handheld microphone. So you can put this on there. It kind of lives on the microphone, similar to like a mic flag that you would put a logo on there. So when you put the mic down on the table, it doesn't just roll on you. These aren't commonly used. Despite that, this is cool to throw in there. It shows you that Phenyx Pro really is thinking about options, and what else can we throw in this to make this product a little bit more attractive. And then you have a typical little power adapter. You have a 1/4-inch cable here with a 1/4-inch to 3.5 millimeter adapter, so you can make use of that mixed output on the back. Now, if you're using it in a more of a prosumer or professional environment, you'll be using the XLRs on the back, and you'll have to buy those yourself. It does not come with XLR cables. And then you have antennas. True diversity means lots of antennas. You obviously know there's a lav and a handheld in here, but what really makes this kit affordable is the company also provides a headset. So you also have the option of a headset. Now, it's obviously not going to be the most covert headset. It's definitely there. It's not like a DPA mic or anything like that where you want it to be barely noticeable. This is where it's okay if the person's noticeably wearing a headset microphone, and that is an option for you, which is always nice to see, because these can get kind of expensive in the professional world. For example, a DPA mic, the ones that are kind of the real nice, super thin ones that are usually skin toned and everything, those are anywhere between like $900 and $1,200 just for the microphone. Now, obviously, this is not it's not up to par to that level of headset microphone, but still, they're expensive. So it's nice to have an option included into the box. And then finally, you actually have the units. So this is the handheld. It feels pro level. It's got some weight to it. It kind of feels like a Shure, a wireless Shure. It has that same weight to it. Now, as to the insides, are they similar? Without taking it apart and doing a whole nother video on something like that, it's hard to say. It could be just thick metal. A lot of companies do that from time to time. But Phenyx Pro, so far, in our limited experience with the company thus far, I have to say that there's a pretty good chance that this is good and well built. So we'll take the sight off. There's a lot of weight to that. Not a lot, but a decent amount of weight there. But I mean, it looks durable. It's robust. It's durable. I actually kind of like this design. It feels good. I had no idea what to expect when I took this out of the box, but so far I like what I see here. Now, bottom, you have your power button. That's for turning it on. And then you have your LCD display right here, as well as your IR sync right there. And I'll open that back up again. And in here, this is where your batteries are gonna go, which are just the two AA batteries, which let's go ahead and put them in. And let's see, do we have a single press? No, we have a long press. And boom, it's on. You got your LCD display readout right there, giving you all of your analytics, including battery life, RF, and group number, channel number, and so forth. So you have everything right here on the screen. You'll also have that information here on this screen as well. Let's go ahead and make sure the top can come off, which it can. Now this is a pop filter, or a mesh pop filter. And okay, it looks like the filter itself doesn't come off. This is the actual mic head. So they have designed this, which is kind of cool. But now on Shure's and Sennheisers, you can remove the capsule off of the handheld. So this is now the wireless portion, and this is the actual microphone. So this just takes the microphone and makes it wireless. So what we're seeing here is the ability to swap this out. So if you damage this, you can hopefully just buy just the capsule and replace it. And maybe that also means that Phenyx Pro has, or might have in the future, different types of pickup patterns that you can swap this capsule out with. So if you want something that's a super cardioid versus something else, or maybe an omnidirectional of some sort, you can swap that out. It's like having a wireless, pretty much SM58, that you can swap out for a 58 beta. So that's giving you options. It's pretty cool to see something like that, and especially in an affordable brand like this. The one thing you can't do is remove the mesh from the microphone. It looks like that's permanently on, so you're not replacing the mesh by itself. So if you do damage this top section, you do have to replace the whole capsule. So just something to keep in mind. So that is the wireless handheld. It looks nice. That's all. It's usually a kind of a concern of ours. Like, does it look good, especially on camera or anything else? Is it going to look like a professional microphone, or is it going to look like a toy? So it looks good, feels good. I think that it should do just fine in a professional environment. And then you have your wireless lavalier, which is, I'd say, about the same size as a Shure, what you typically get with a Shure wireless unit. And then you have the pack, which is about similar to the size of a Sennheiser or a Shure, but feels more like a Sennheiser to my eyes. It feels like there's a little bit bulk to it, but it's not too bad. It's by bulk, I mean it's probably like maybe 10% bulkier than a Sennheiser or a Shure. Here's the body pack. At least this is the lav. This is the body pack. You have your antenna. You have your mini XLR or TA connector right here on the top. You have your power button, which is just a long press to turn it on, and you have your stat LED here. You have no other input that's on the shell of it. And of course, the antenna can be removed from the body pack, which honestly, I'm surprised they didn't ship that separately, where you have to screw that in yourself. Usually a lot of companies will do that, so that way it guarantees the safety during shipment. But then again, looking at this, I don't see it going anywhere or anything causing an issue in packaging wise, so I guess they're safe. I'm just nitpicking at things at this point. But you have a belt loop on the back, and then you have the latched opening here. You just pinch these and open it up. It feels good, actually. It feels nice and durable, so that way when it's closed, it's not loose. It's not just gonna swing around. The latches aren't 100% perfect. I'd like this to be a little bit more locked, where you have to use these pinch buttons to be able to open it. And so if I grab it from down here though, it still does if you pull hard enough, and it doesn't take too much. It does pop out, but it is what it is. You have your IR sensor inside here and your battery compartment, which we'll go ahead and load the batteries. Go ahead and turn it on. And there you go. Nice, easy to read display, your status LED there. And the display has everything that you see on the display on the handheld. So same thing, you have your group, channel, you have your RF and your battery life, so forth. So, wow, that pretty much completes everything. There's nothing else to really point out. So the only thing left is let's test it out. Let's see what it sounds like. That's the most exciting part anyway. So, and I know that's what you've been holding out for. So let's give it a listen.
Okay, we have everything set up now, and you can see all the antennas are plugged in here. We have our screens right here kicking away in front, giving us all of our analytics. Same thing, like I said, that are on the screens of the mics themselves. Maybe I'll turn this up a little bit more. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking at my preview monitor here, and I just feel like I can get a little bit more out of that and make it nice and loud. So I can turn this up some more. Right now I got it to about just before 3 o'clock. And we have, again, all the same information, except you have full frequency instead of just group and channel, as well as, surprisingly enough, if you can get past looking at my bald head, surprisingly enough, there's no battery life readout on the receiver. That part I don't like, and unusual at the same time. So it looks like the microphone isn't reporting back with battery life to the unit, so maybe you'll get a low battery. Nope. Looking at this, you don't have battery. So usually you like to see battery at the receiver because as you're taking a show or whatever you're trying to do, you want to be able to monitor battery life from here. So that's really so far the only con that we found thus far that's worth pointing out and complaining about. There should be battery life at the receiver. But that's about it so far. I mean, for a wireless microphone, imagine if I'm in an environment with a live PA and I'm using this microphone. It should sound pretty good. The frequency response of the microphone seems to be good enough. Camera guys give me the thumbs up, so that's a good sign. So this is the handheld. This is the Phenyx Pro. I was almost going to sneeze there for a moment. A Phenyx Pro handheld on the Phenyx Pro PTU-2U True Diversity Dual Wireless Microphone System. I got this. I practiced in front of the mirror saying that over and over again so I wouldn't mess that up. But this is what it sounds like. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to lavalier. So when you have somebody all labbed up and you don't want them holding a handheld, then, lav. So now I'm connected with the lavalier. I can see my volume here on the pack. I can see I do not see it on here. Oh no, yeah I do. Yeah, it's right there. It's just kind of low on here for whatever reason. But for gain structure, you're going to want to make sure, obviously, that you have your gain or your output of the receiver set to something decent, so that whatever board you're using, you can set everything to unity and still be able to get your meters where you need them to be. Let it be 0 or minus 18, or it all depends on your board. So this is your volume control for that to make sure that your receiver is outputting the right amount of volume to whatever you're mixing with. But this is the lavalier. This is what it sounds like. So far, I'm getting thumbs up. I thought it was a thumbs up. There it is, thumbs up. So that means that the lavalier sounds good. This is what it sounds like with the lavalier. So I'm getting just one hand signal here, and I don't know what that means. I don't know what is. Oh, room noise. that unique. Never seen that one before. But room noise. Okay, so you are picking up a little bit of room noise in this microphone, so it's definitely omnidirectional, and you're probably just hearing a lot, which shouldn't be much. The only thing we have, this is a controlled studio environment, except that we do have a small, supposed to be not as loud fridge over there for waters for the crew, but sometimes it's useful to just to see what does that sound like in the background, and there you go. But yeah, so omnidirectional capsule here. This is just your typical cardioid on the handheld, but you are getting some room noise here, so that's environmental noise that you're going to have to consider when you're doing your mix, especially if you're EQing in a complex environment. So that's, again, the lavalier. Let's go ahead and switch to the headset. So this is what the headset sounds like, and this would be really nice to have a very tight kind of pickup pattern that's really just focused on me and less on out there or over here. And this is what the headset sounds like. So there you have it. We have listened officially to the handheld, we have listened to the lavalier, and now we are listening to the headset. Phenyx Pro PTU-2U True Diversity Wireless Microphone System. And it's pretty powerful for the price. Again, the only thing that we could pick apart on it this time around was the fact that there's no battery readout on the front, which is kind of weird, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's affordable. You are definitely getting a lot of bang for your buck. So despite that one little thing that we have, an issue that we have, I'd say we're looking pretty good. So again, Phenyx Pro PTU-2U True Diversity wireless microphone system. We're going to have links in the description so that you can find all of this, or find all of this. It's a one big kit, and you'll see some of the other stuff that they have as well via their website and or Amazon, where you can find a lot of their products. But so far, I'd say this is a pretty good hit for a lot of people out there looking to save a lot of money while being able to get a lot for their money, making for a good option. So we'll keep that link in the description so you'll have that. Now, if you liked what you've seen here, don't forget to subscribe and follow us, as well as tick that like button down below. Let us know, or at the bottom of the video, to let us know that you like this video specifically. And of course, use the comment section down below everything else to share any thoughts that you might have, or any questions that you might have, anything for us, for each other, or even for the manufacturer, just in case they are listening and watching. And as always, we thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. If you want to stay on top of all the latest and greatest, and or at least the gadgets we cover, remember to subscribe right here. Subscription button. Click it. You're going to want to. There's lots of videos, interviews, previews, all sorts of stuff. Button. Click it.